30% skills, 40% mindset, 30% people. This is the distribution of variables that I think matter for anybody's career, be it in sports, athlete, academia, business, whatever you're trying to achieve. I believe this is the distribution of variables you should be focusing on. This is Not Even Wrong podcast. It's June 14th, 2021. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is up 1.4%. The market is up 20 basis points. We are down 9.8% for the year. The market is up 13%. We're underperforming by 22.8%. 30%, 40%, 30%, 30% skill, 40% mindset, and 30% people. I want to elaborate these three variables that I think are crucial for anybody in whatever they do. I just re-listened to Dave Camarillo's podcast from last year where he talks about mindset. And Camarillo, I've been mentioning him before on this podcast. He's a very inspiring person, a martial arts coach and practitioner, but most importantly also, I think an intellectual. I think a person that can use his brain as much as he can use his muscles and his skills when it comes to inspiring people, defend themselves, or penetrate into new territory. So I re-listened to this podcast, and he talks about mindset and how important it is to be strong in your head. And then I was training this morning at one of the public training sites here in San Francisco, and I saw this little kid. He must have been 9-10 years old, practicing his soccer skills, and he's clearly a talent, an amazing talent, amazingly skilled and all that. So it made me think, because of my experience that I'm having actually as we speak with my son who plays soccer. He's 14 years old, so he's a bit older than this boy. And the experience that I have with my son that I want to talk about here is not necessarily about him. It's about the people around him and his team. And what happened is that over the last couple of years, a lot of potential prodigies, a lot of talented kids just fell through the cracks, are not in the team anymore, are not able to deliver, maybe are just sort of appendices to the team. There's a lot of psychological distress, a lot of people that were promised big careers, a lot of people that thought that they are prodigies when they were 9-10 years old, end up not being that good. And I think the reason why these kids are falling through the cracks, why these kids are not able to deliver, why these kids are not nearly as successful as they thought they would be. And we're talking, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that have been playing this game maybe for 6-7 years and that have been very successful maybe in the first couple of years of their career, and then just in the last couple of years sort of fell through the cracks. So we're talking about this phenomenon, and I want to connect it to my beginning of this episode where I talk about the mind and the skill and the people. What I'm trying to say is that there's of course a certain base of skills that you need to have if you want to do anything, if you want to play soccer, if you want to be good at engineering, if you want to be good at academics. You have to have a certain set of skills. Basic technical skills are indispensable, but they're only necessary, not sufficient. So you will not succeed just having technical skills. You also need to have the mindset. And that's why I used my son's soccer experience and his teammates. If you don't have the strength, if you don't have the ability to continuously go and train, to build your skills, to continue with a disciplined approach towards training, a disciplined approach towards conditioning, a disciplined approach towards sleep and nutrition, and all these things that matter. I'm not just talking about athletes here. I want to be clear. I have, and this is a small side note here. I think performance is performance. There's no such thing as being good at academics and you have to do this, and this, and then being good at sports, you have to do this, and this. I think it's all the same. I think a high-performing person has to deliver on technical skills, on discipline, on health. So sleep and nutrition are as important for a mathematics prodigy as they are for a soccer player, for a person that wants to succeed in his startup. Yeah, you hear about these pizza eating 24/7 type working people, but if you're not healthy, if you're not if you can't if you can't wake up in the morning because you're too fat or too disgusting or whatever it is you've been doing, you will not succeed. So let's get back to the main line here. What I'm saying is that you need to have the mindset as much as you need to have the skills. And then what I meant with the third variable, the people, is once you have the skills and the mindset, you still have to be surrounded by the right people, because no matter how hard you try, you can't do it by yourself. And I'm not talking about teamwork here and things like that. That's of course part of the game, particularly in a game like soccer. Of course, you can't win by yourself by definition. It is the inspiration you get from other people. It is the aspiration you get from other people. It is learning from them. It is teaching them and then evolving. There's a compound return on being useful to other people. And that's the only way you can succeed. This is why entrepreneurs are the most wealthy people in the world. It's not because they're so smart, and it's not because they have a certain skill set. It's because they're able to inspire more people than others. Wealth when it comes to wealth creation in capitalism is a function of how many people you can inspire to do something, and then they inspire you and you inspire them. And if that equation is very large, then you become wealthy. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, then you become wealthy. Of course, you need little details like having a marketplace, succeeding, and all that stuff too. But the fundamental success factor is being around the right people. So let's get back to 30, 40, 30. What I meant with 30, 40, 30 is that you need about, if you split it up in a pie, 30% of the pie has to be your skill set. It's a necessary but not sufficient condition for anybody's success. Let's take sports. You want to be a quarterback, you just have to have the technique down. You want to be a keeper in soccer, you have to have the technique down. You can be the smartest person in the world, surrounded by the most inspiring people in the world. Technique is indispensable. Work on details, the step forward, the hand should be a little bit towards the right. Whatever it is, positioning, intelligence, game intelligence. It's not just skills like juggling skills with the ball or things like that when it comes to keeper in the soccer game. It's things like positioning. It's things like, do I make the pass at the right time? The timing. All these things, I want to sum them up as skills that are indispensable to success. Then the mindset, 40%, by far the most important, obviously, just based on the number. Why? This is the Dave Camarillo podcast. Highly encouraged to listen. It's Position Impossible, and this particular episode, it's the last episode actually he published, which was about a year ago, talks about mindset. And I've done my own episode where I spoke about mindset is the weapon. It's not just a weapon, it is the weapon. It is the weapon that is going to help you to succeed. Because mindset really boils down to the ability to, if you think about this from a Chiara Marletto's perspective, from a constructor theory perspective, or physics, even basic stuff, okay? No design rules. We all come from atoms and all that stuff, forget atoms, basic particles, basic forces. And from all of that, through no design rules, we've created all what Teslas and Golden Gate bridges and operas and stuff. What I'm trying to say here is that we are able to use our mind to do things that nature had not predisposed us to do. We ourselves are a result of that, and our minds are a result of there's no design rules of Chiara Marletto. And now, given that we have this brain, this unique ability, according to David Deutsch, that nobody else has, to be creative and create abstract realities through knowledge and things like that, given that, it is absolutely paramount that it also applies to our own development. What is in our mind is who we are going to become. What you're thinking today, what your mind is occupied with right now is what you're going to be occupied with tomorrow. There's a high correlation there. I've said that several times in my podcast. If you spend your time checking your social media contacts and your likes, and you text with random people non-stop about random stuff with no purpose, you will end up having a life with no purpose. If, on the other hand, you wake up in the morning and you have a plan of how to get better at whatever you're trying to achieve, you want to be the best keeper in the world, you're thinking about your last game, your mistakes you made, you analyze them, you send a video to your coach, he looks at it, he trains with you, makes you better at that particular skill that he thinks you need to have to make that save next time. And then you train, your conditioning is tweaked towards maybe getting that higher jump, that 2 inches you need to actually make that save. If that's your life, if your brain is occupied with those sort of things, you will succeed in the endeavor to become the best at what you're doing. So this idea that we are given something, let's say our genetic code, and then we all go pray that we become stars is just nonsense. Trevor Lawrence is one of the most decorated first draft picks in a long time in football. This kid has not become who he is just because he happened to have the right genes. He has become who he is because he's worked relentlessly on his skills and he has the mindset. Now, the third factor, the third variable, the people, not to be underestimated. As you can see in the numbers, it's as important as your skills. So you spend 6 hours a day training, but then you kind of randomly play with team A or team B, or you randomly choose your friends and your spouses and all that. That's not a good idea. I think you're wasting 30% of your potential. You should be focused relentlessly on picking the right people. My son has been playing for a certain team here in San Francisco for a couple of years now. Actually 6 to be precise, but more seriously, maybe 2 years with the top team in whatever division and club he is. And he's just sensed over the last couple of months that he's outgrown that team. He had to make a change. Given that he's only 13, now turning 14, that change, we helped him make that change, but it doesn't matter. This applies to your own career as much as it applies to anybody else. This is the key, that you understand that not having the right people around you can be as detrimental as not having the right technique. You imagine you step on the field only caring 50% about your abilities. So it's only 50% of your abilities are taken care of. And you would not succeed. You'd be scared to even go out there and compete. But that's what most people do with that people equation. They don't necessarily, people are stuck at work because of several, also partly institutional. It's not so easy to change work, and if you're a job hopper, that's bad for your resume and all that stuff. I get it. You can't constantly readjust your people dimensions. I get that. But there is times when it becomes imminent. There is times when you have to make a move. And again, it is very, very important that you keep those 3 factors in place. I would say a lot of people are good at skills, like that little 10-year-old boy that I saw this morning. He spent a lot of time honing his skills, and good for him. He was a skilled player. Clearly, he is a skilled player. I could see that. But does he have the mindset? And is he going to make that move to be surrounded by the right people that will take him to that maybe desired soccer career that he's dreaming of, or that other kid that is an artist and is doing graffiti when he's 10 years old and hoping to become a great street artist? Is he going to have the mindset and have the strength to surround himself with the right people when the time comes? Those are the big questions. The skills, again, important, but not the whole story. So to summarize, the purpose of this podcast is to give people a sense for what it feels like to run a hedge fund. And in order to run a hedge fund successfully, you have to be the best at what you do. The hedge fund business is not a forgiving business. By no means. I don't want to fall into cliches here, but Barton Bix has written a beautiful book, Hedgehogs, about this. The numbers are clear. The number of people that actually survive in the business is diminishingly small. And then the number of people who are actually successful, so not just surviving, but have some sort of success is even smaller. And if you want to succeed in this business, this is a I eat what I catch type of business. There's no forgiveness in whatsoever in any which way. So I strongly urge people to listen to this particular episode and think about this. Do I have the technical skills? Do I have the mindset? And then also, am I around the right people? This might be the technical, all these three variables. They depend on each person. It's like in that Karate Kid movie when the coach tells the kid, look, the snake adapts to the person. You adapt, you are the snake. You have to adapt to the skills and the mindset and the people around you in a way that works for you. You can't, there's no cookie cutter solution for this. That's why we are unique, because even if we built the right skill set, our mindset has to be unique, and then the people that actually are good for us are going to be unique. So there's no such thing as two equal people for that particular reason, at least when it comes to success. That's why this whole idea in business schools, people try to analyze success factors or what kind of people should I invest in and all that stuff. There's no pattern. You can't, no AI in the world can find you that. This is something that we humans are creating, and only our human creativity can actually find a way to become successful, let's say in entrepreneurship or even in sports. How many people are trying to use statistics and Moneyball and all that stuff to find success in sports, and to some extent it helps. I'm not saying data is useless by no means, but it's not going to create sustained success because the actual equation is much more complicated. It's 30% skills, 40% mindset, and 30% people, and it is very, very individually dependent on individual factors, and therefore there are no patterns. So if you're a hedge fund manager, if you're an aspiring athlete, if you're an aspiring artist, I don't care. If you hear this, please just sit down for a second, think about your technical skills, think about your mindset. Is it the right mindset that you need to have to succeed in whatever business you're pursuing? And then, of course, are you around the right people? Thank you.